I'm bigcal and welcome to my world. Today I want to talk a little bit about the Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo was of course the follow-up to the extraordinarily popular Nintendo Entertainment System, or the NES as it was known to me. So here we have the Super Nintendo, or the SNES as it was known to me and most people in UK, possibly Europe. It's now a 16-bit console, better graphics, more colours, much better sound. Games still on cartridges, could now hold much more data, bigger games, better games, all that nonsense. The actual console here, obviously the European version, ours was the same design as the Super Famicom, which was the Japanese version, and I much prefer this to the American version, which is it's like kind of rectangularly square. It's not as round as this one. You know, this kind of looks nice, it's got a decent shape. The American one to me just looks awful. The big clunky purple buttons, don't like it at all, so I'm very happy that I grew up here in England and was able to get this model. The controller for it, an updated version of the original NES controller obviously, still have the basic D-pad, start and select, and then instead of just two buttons, A and B, we now have X and Y. And then of course shoulder buttons, L and R, allowed for much more features in games, as obviously now you have more buttons, and again just like the original NES controller, pretty much every controller design since then has been based on this. Essentially, put a couple of analog sticks on, another L and R button, and you have a modern controller. That's what everything's based off of. The controller design is still fantastic to this day, and to this day it is one of my absolute favourite controllers, and in my opinion one of the best. So, you know, the best controller going with, in my opinion, one of the best systems ever. Has a fantastic library of games, some my own, there's still quite a few I would love to add to my collection. Well, what better thing to do to talk about the SNES than to talk about the games, because the games make the system. So I have all of my games here. I'm not going to go through all of them because no real need. If you want to check out my entire video games collection, look on the bigcal's video game collection page over on bigcalsworld.co.uk. I'll put a link in the video description. We'll start off with boxed games. Firstly, we have Super Star Wars, a fantastic but extraordinarily difficult game. Very nice to own it in the box. It was just as cheap to buy the boxed version it was the unboxed. Just to go with it, an unboxed game here is Super Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back. Was unable to get the boxed version at the time, at least for a price I was willing to pay. So just put that down there to one side, and then to go with it is the boxed version of Super Return of the Jedi. All three games are very similar in gameplay, but obviously dealing with each film from the original trilogy, their own unique levels. You know, some differences even there with characters you can play, and all three are fantastic games, yet very, very difficult. One of my favourite boxed games is Super Mario Kart, the game that started it off, the Mario Kart series. We now have 8. And in my opinion, this one is still one of the very best. I'll probably put this in top 3, along with the DS Mario Kart and the latest Mario Kart 8 for the Wii U. Love this game, played it a ton as a kid. Battle mode, me and my brother, the battle mode is still fantastic to this day. And of course the actual racing is still great. A bunch of great tracks. It's great to see some of the tracks from this now, you know, getting remastered for the newer games. There's classic tracks, especially on the Wii U's Mario Kart 8, you get to see them in the HD. Very happy that I own that boxed. Moving on now to some unboxed games, again just the highlights of my collection. We have firstly Super Mario All-Stars, one of the games that I think every Super Nintendo collector needs to have in their collection. The Super Mario All-Stars collection features Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, 3 and The Lost Levels, which was a Japanese version of Super Mario Bros. 2. Fantastic collection, graphics are all updated to look more in line with the Super Mario World game. You can now got a save feature on all of them, which makes playing some of the games a little easier, especially The Lost Levels. Fantastic game. A game that you have seen before, if you've seen any of my recent pickups videos and things like that. It is a Japanese game. Super Famicom, obviously, is Dragon Ball Z: The Legend of the Super Saiyan, the legendary Super Saiyan. I always forget what the translation actually is. Bought the Japanese cartridge, but then I sent it off and had it converted into English and made so that it actually plays in my PAL console without the need for any modifications or anything like that. It's a great little RPG game, although incredibly difficult. Of course, a game collection of mine for any system cannot be complete without wrestling games. I own 3 WWF ones, but they're not particularly great. The one I really want to mention is Saturday Night Slam Masters. This is from Capcom. We obviously make some pretty good fighting games. This is essentially a wrestling game, but it still has the look and the feel of one of the fighting games, and it's an absolute fantastic mix. I believe there was a sequel to it, but it was only released in Japan. I think I'll have to, definitely double check that and look it up, and maybe one day even get hold of it. It's a great wrestling game to own, one of the best for the Super Nintendo that was released, in PAL and in English. So very happy to own that for my Super Nintendo collection. Another game that I absolutely love, pretty sure was an arcade game first. My first experience with this game was when I was at school. There was this, I believe it was called Centre 17. It was kind of like an after school club you could go to, I think. They did stuff, I have no idea. But basically it was open at dinner times as well. Sometimes me and my friends would go in there, especially if it was summer. You didn't want to be hanging around the playground, it's too warm. You go in there and you could buy cold drinks or ice pops, which were fantastic to get, and they also had a games machine, which I believe was a Mega Drive. One of the games that we used to always play, because it was a great multiplayer game, was Total Carnage, a fantastic over-the-top shoot-em-up game, just incredibly fun. When I found out it was also on the Super Nintendo, had to pick it up because I don't own a Sega Mega Drive just yet. Really great game, definitely have this collection, or if you don't own a SNES, I believe it was on the Midway Arcade Treasures number 2 that was released on the PlayStation 2 and Xbox. One game type that essentially the entire 16-bit era really did well was 2D platformers. We obviously know the popular ones, but one that not so popular and a lot of people didn't really know about until the last couple of years, I'd say. I've never heard of it until the last few years anyway, and that is Block. It's quite similar to Rayman in that his limbs aren't necessarily attached to him. You can actually fire them off, you can throw punches, you can throw kicks, and you can use them to activate puzzle elements and things like that. Really great game, really cool sense of humour. Definitely a potential hidden gem for the Super Nintendo that I think every fan of 2D platformers should definitely check out. And finally, for Unboxed English games anyway, the absolute best game on the system, in my opinion, the single greatest game of all time, and in terms of 2D platformers, the absolute defining game in the genre, it is Super Mario World. What do I need to say about this game that has never been said before? It's just utterly fantastic. It looks amazing, it sounds amazing, it plays amazing. Every single Super Nintendo collector must own this. It's not a case of, yeah, get it if you can, it's a cool game to have. No, own it. Play it. Love it. Okay, moving on now to accessories. The first one is one that I recently picked up. It is a universal adapter for the Super Nintendo. What this does is allows me to play Japanese and American carts on my PAL Super Nintendo. Essentially, all you do is get your PAL game, I'll just use a Toy Story as an example here, and slot it into the back. Put that in as if it was an old cartridge, and then the games you want to play go on here. And the first one I actually got with the adapter. I got 3 games with it for a bargain, £20, is Street Fighter 2. Fantastic fighting game, one that I remember growing up on, one that I think I actually own on the Wii Virtual Console. Great fighting game, great multiplayer game. I'm a big fan of it, despite not typically liking the standard fighting games like this with the multiple button presses for attacks, but for some reason I did always like the Street Fighter 2 game. Next on, another American cartridge, is another fantastic overhead shoot 'em up, similar to Total Carnage. It is Super Smash TV. An excellent game. I'm glad I finally own it. On the American version, would have preferred the European just for my collection, but just owning the game is enough for me. Great game. And finally, the last game that I got with the adapter is another Japanese Kart, although this one hasn't been translated or anything, so I need this to play it. It is Batman Returns. Luckily, everything in the game is in English anyway, so why on earth there need to be any difference with the cartridges or anything, I don't know, but it's an absolutely fantastic side-scrolling beat-em-up game. When I was recording footage for it, I played about an hour worth of the game, even though I had to record footage for all the other games. I just kind of got really into it. Excellent game. So that's it for the first accessory. Although before I move on to another one, I do want to mention another box game I got is a box Super Famicom game, which I got recently, and it is Lord Moloch. It's a strategy game. Fortunately it is in Japanese, so I have no clue how to play it. A lot of it is in English, but then some of it is in Japanese, and then that's where I would get stuck. Got this recently in my retro gamer crate, which I did an unboxing video of. Check it out now, I'll put a link somewhere here in the video. Check that video out. So my first boxed Famicom game, happy with that. One of my favourite accessories for the Super Nintendo is the Super Game Boy. Like that, and then you just put your Game Boy or Game Boy Color cartridges. There are a handful that will not work in this, the Game Boy Color cartridges, but most of them do. The one I've been playing recently is Pokemon Silver, one of my favourite games ever. It's just great sometimes, to be able to play it on full screen, especially if, like me, you don't own the Game Boy Advance SP that had the backlight. Trying to play some of the old Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, and even Game Boy Advance games, without a backlight is incredibly difficult to do, so it's very handy to be able to sit in bed and play Super Nintendo controller, one of my favourite Game Boy games. And lastly, this accessory must be used in order to play this game, this one very specific game. I don't think there were very many games released for this accessory on the Super Nintendo, which is a shame because I did enjoy it. But the game that came with it has 6 games in one. I'm sure you guess what it is. It is the Nintendo Scope 6 game, which requires the Nintendo Super Scope. And this is a beast. It is huge, it is fantastic, it works incredibly well. It does kind of eat batteries like nothing you've ever seen, but it's well worth it. Absolutely love this thing, just wish there were more games released for it, and I wish I had more to play with it. But you do get the 6-in-1 basic things, like shooting aliens. There's a weird Tetris style game in there, a couple of other things. Very fun to play. Still really love this thing. Huge big bazooka, big red fire button on top, or if you want it to be more like a gun with a, you can shoot here, although I personally prefer the big red button on top. That is a fantastic, although possibly oversized accessory. So there you have it, the Super Nintendo. Gone through some of my personal favourite games in the collection, the highlights that I own. I obviously have more here. Check them out again on my list of games over on bigcalsworld.co.uk. So I'm Big Cal, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed this video. Please, if you like this video, like it on YouTube, share and make a comment. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts of the Super Nintendo, what games you own, what games you would like to own. If there's any games here that I showed as highlights that you think are absolute crap, anything, let me know in the comments below. love reading comments and replying to them if I can. So thanks for watching, I'll see you again next time.